Hey guys, this is Hazel Kate Quinn, and this may be a little bit of a long video, but I'm going to do a part 2 for the Narcissistic Abuse Recorded video that I did in 2017, a little over 2 years ago. But I decided I would do a part 2 because now it is even more relevant than ever. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp are up for a big showdown. This time Johnny Depp is going for all of it. He did everything he could not to directly, sue her or anything like that, or directly address her, but she gave him no choice. I mean, originally he was going to sue the Sun, the Sun tabloid, for publishing a defamatory article. I mean, what he can do is he is trying to not have to deal with these defamatory articles so he can go on with his life, regardless of what the NDA said, which I read in the entire witness statement that I, that from the video that I did last time. And for those of you who were able to sit through it, I really appreciate it because I know it was very long. But anyway, but what did Amber go into? I mean, basically what he was doing is he was talking about the press. He was talking about the media. But then Amber's making such a fuss. She wants to be completely released from the NDA so that she can talk about it, because apparently he's talking about it and basically, calling her out as a liar. And he never even got to talk about it back in the day. I mean, he was grieving the loss of his mother. He was all overwhelmed. He was trying to let Laura Wasser handle it, and they were going to, go right to court, and he was going to, he had all these witnesses and everything like that. 23 witnesses, including Vanessa Paradis and Jerry Judge, Sean Bett, and a bunch of other people that we heard about in the witness statement from last time. However, what did Amber Heard go and do? She wrote an op-ed and sent it to the Washington Post. She wrote a defamatory piece about Johnny. She didn't have to mention him by name, but she basically played a journalist, and she defamed him in writing. 4 days after that, he lost the role that people have known him in for so long and loved him, Captain Jack Sparrow. He lost that role 4 days after her op-ed in the Washington Post, where the title of it, and I don't even know why she mentioned sexual violence. She wasn't accusing Johnny of sexual violence. She was accusing him of physical violence. But way to sell something, Amber. I mean, this is why I'm making a part 2, and I'm leading up to this. Amber is performing. No matter what, you guys have to understand, this woman is not telling the truth. This woman is performing. Maybe she's got borderline personality disorder, but my money is on narcissistic personality disorder, and maybe some borderline sociopath tendencies. At any rate, enough about diagnoses. I don't want to get off track. But, it's kind of part and parcel with what this is all about. She wrote that op-ed and titled it, "I spoke out against sexual violence and faced our country's wrath." Okay, and then 4 days after that, she goes through this whole thing about, her quote-unquote experience with domestic violence, and doesn't name Johnny, but everybody knew. They have known, and the media have been eating out of her hand. Me Too made her their poster child. 4 days later, Johnny lost the role of Captain Jack Sparrow. That is outrageous. So he's suing Amber Heard for $50 million. Personally, I think she owes him more. And now, part of this whole thing is she was also having an affair with Elon Musk. In fact, he knew that they were in the same house together. He found out about it. So he's bringing that up for a good reason, because, this is part of, why Amber threw the vodka bottle at him that cut off the tip of his finger, because he called her out on that. They were having an argument about that. He didn't hit her, but, you know, she was throwing things at him. She was hitting him the entire time. Anyway, I'd like to thank my friend Brian from Twitter, who also has a channel here on YouTube. I will link it, you know, in the comments section or in the description box. He has this amazing video where he calls out all the locations of Io till it right. He is brilliant. I mean, he gets really detailed with it. Io lied about a lot of things, a lot of places he was at, you know, as far as, you know, certain places he was comforting Amber and, you know, a key witness in her so-called abuse by Johnny Depp. So it's brilliant. I will link it at the end of this in the description box. But his name is Brian, that Brian fella on Twitter. And he gave me a lot of input, you know, on the video that Amber Heard made of Johnny Depp slamming cabinets, the one that I did the, you know, Narcissistic Abuse Recorded, the one that I broke down and basically showed how Amber Heard was the abuser and was baiting Johnny the entire time. So he gave me some additional input that I'm going to actually read and discuss with you while I also play snippets from the video so that you can see and follow along. So here we go. Let me just get up here. Okay. So to start, Amber is aware she has an audience. That audience being whoever she intends to eventually view the video. At several points, she says things in a way as to prime them for her future allegations and the points she will convey. It's almost as if she literally projects her voice into the phone at those points. I'll get to those in a bit. She also knows she has to keep a meek tone about her to make it seem like she is the weaker and submissive one of the couple. When Johnny walks closer to her early in the video, I must emphasize he didn't walk toward her, but his path did take him closer to her. She actually calmly steps closer to him. This is important. Albeit in an apparent, let me start this again. When Johnny walks closer to her early in the video, I must emphasize he didn't walk toward her, but his path did take him closer to her. She actually, this is really important, calmly steps closer to him, albeit in an apparent attempt to hide the camera. But it's interesting how as he is moving to a closer proximity, she doesn't hesitate to further and rather calmly close the gap as well. What victim does that? Willfully and confidently steps toward their abuser as he is getting closer in range. She does this a second time as he comes to pour the wine. Again, this time he is walking more in her direction, and she doesn't hesitate to cut him off and close that gap. No victim who has learned to fear for their life would ever do that. Now here comes the breakdown of the dialogue. Everyone can see, as I pointed out before, that Johnny is mad, but it seems to be at something else, not her. And it was, as we saw in the GQ article, he was angry because he had just only found out that he lost hundreds of millions of dollars thanks to all the hocus pocus and nonsense that TMG was doing to him. And that was when that whole drama started, and that's what he was upset about. It had nothing to do with Amber. You see, I knew it, but you know, I was vindicated by that. Well, not vindicated. That's the wrong word. I was validated. Sorry, it's been a stressful time. Vindicated is something totally different. Vindicated is what we want Johnny Depp to be at the end of all this, with that said. So, okay. So Johnny's mad, but it seems to be at something else, not her. As he kicks something far away from her, yelling, "Motherfucker," Amber starts by calmly and meekly asking, "What happened?" Acting meek, by the way. To which from her yelling motherfucker, Johnny yelling motherfucker, Amber starts by calmly and meekly asking what happened, to which he does not respond, but continues to slam cabinet doors. So why is she asking this? Well, that has a couple of answers. Remember, she has an audience, so she clearly has a goal. She is recording for a reason. She has to show something specific. First, she has to show she has concern for him. She would later mirror this during her accusations, pretending to show concern for his drug and alcohol use, and how she would attempt to help him. So by asking what happened, and how she would attempt to help him, she is attempting to convince the audience she is genuinely concerned. But unbeknownst to the audience, what else is she hoping to show in this clip of the video? She is attempting to get him to aim his anger at her. But she can't be antagonistic about it as she knows she is recording. So, she asks again after he doesn't respond to her or her presence. What happened? A second time. Again, to no response. Her tactic of getting. So she asks him again after he doesn't respond to her presence what happened. A second time. Again to no response. Her tactic of getting him to direct his anger at her isn't working. So what next? She can't elevate her tone or become irritated because it makes her look antagonistic. So she changes her question to a statement. Now she says, "Nothing happened this morning. You know that." So she goes from feigned concern and presuming no knowledge of what is going on to outright challenging his anger and stating that nothing happened, and very specifically stating this morning. So which is it? Which is it, Amber? Do you not know what happened, or do you know something happened and even know when, and are trying to get him to direct his anger at you? It's as if the first two times she was like, well, this isn't working, and went from concerned to confrontational and combative by disputing that something even happened, knowing that would get his attention, which works, as he asks, "Were you in here?" She says no. To stop there for a second, why would she tell him nothing happened when he is clearly upset over something indeed happening, if she wasn't even there when it did? Answer: to get him to argue with her, potentially argue with her while she pretends to cower. So here we go. He then says, "So then nothing happened to you this morning." This tells me this is coming from habitual conversation patterns they go through. Basically, if she is a narcissist and borderline sociopath, she knows how to push his buttons and also probably downplays his importance or struggles if it doesn't affect her. Of course, that's every narc's favorite weapon. He is pleading his case here that just because something didn't happen to her doesn't mean nothing happened, but he has officially taken the bait by addressing her. She knew all she had to do was dispute his claims and anger, even though she had no apparent clue seconds earlier what was going on. What victim, seriously, what victim prods their abuser like that? See, this is what I've been saying in the comments all along in the other video to those who have been commenting and challenging me on, oh, no, he's the abuser. She was a victim. How dare you? Oh, my God, how can you side with him? You're a woman hater. You know, all this other crazy stuff like they normally do on Twitter. So, stuff's driving me to drink. No, but, you know, this is what I've been saying all along. I mean, she is too confident. Engaging Johnny in conversation when she's so frightened of his anger and she's frightened for her life. How can she be frightened for her life? And how can anybody look at this video and think she's that frightened? She's standing there the whole time. She is not, you know, if I were in a situation where somebody was as dangerous as she described him to be, first of all, you know, I certainly wouldn't want to be remotely near him if I heard him yelling and carrying on about something. I would be like, okay, let me just stay out of his way. I mean, anybody with any common sense, but hearing all this broken down just like this, and it's just so obvious when you really, but you have to really look. You do have to really look. And I know some of you have said to me, well, you know, it's not obvious, but a lot of it is. I mean, not all of it. You know, you have to keep watching. And I tell people, study more about this and keep watching, but it really isn't that hard to see that she's not scared. She's acting. No abuse victim does what she does in this video. I mean, she you know, pitches her voice in all these different ways, but come on, you know. Anyway, so now back to our, you know, our story. Now that Johnny has established this has nothing to do with Amber, why he's so angry, Amber has to go to plan B. Try to make it about her. Literally try to make it about her, while projecting what she hopes the audience will buy about him. She does all this with her next statement. She says, yeah, you're right. I just woke up, and you were so sweet and nice. We were not even fighting this morning. All I did was say sorry. This does a number of things. Takes a vague argument that isn't actually happening at the moment and pushes it to the forefront to tell the audience. This is also one of the moments she seemingly projects her words to the audience. She has to also convince people that Johnny goes through mood swings. She doesn't have him on tape going through these mood swings, so she has to narrate it for them. It's called Exposition. Dun 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 dun. This is why she says, you were so sweet and nice. As if to say, see people, he was so nice, and now he is flying off the handle. Crazy, right? Yeah. I'll show you crazy. This is my crazy, and you're crazy. Couldn't resist, mate. Sorry, I'm just fooling around. Okay, she is also sure to plug that she said sorry for some unnamed thing to add that extra sympathy factor. An unrationalized behavior Johnny is demonstrating. Again, trying to make it about her and trying to pretend to the audience that it is about her, even though seconds earlier it had already been said that it wasn't about her. Narcissists are all about themselves. We know that. It's almost as if Johnny knows what she is trying to do, at least in terms of making it about her. Of course he knows. Because he immediately says, did something happen to you this morning? I don't think so. She then says, no, that's the thing. Again, showing she doesn't know what is actually going on, or if he has some right to be angry. But she knows it's not about her or them as a couple. Yet she didn't hesitate seconds earlier to be confrontational and dispute that anything happened at all. Finally, Johnny says, you want to see crazy? I'll give you fucking crazy. Here's your crazy. All your crazy. This does so many things. One obviously shows that even though she is doing everything she can to get him to aim his anger at her, and given how angry he is in the beginning, he will not threaten her. Johnny will not threaten her, will not call Amber names, or even approach Amber in a threatening manner. See, he knows her number by now. How many years was he with her? He was practically toward the, it was maybe, I don't know, maybe this was made in 2015. The video, this is when he first found out he lost all that money. And he did say it in GQ magazine that it was quite a while ago. But he had to have known, that, her number by now, that this was her nature. And he was so over it. I wonder if it was shortly after they got married and he found out she was sleeping with Elon Musk anyway. Holy crap. Anyway, so this is a point. So Johnny will not threaten Amber, will not call her names or even approach her in a threatening manner. He just kind of approaches her like, okay, I'm just going to, here's crazy, here's all your crazy. I'm just going to sit back and drink like a crazy pirate. Whatever. Now hide the rum. Also, this is a point where Amber steps closer to him as he gets closer. You see? Again. And Amber even leans in further to point at the wine bottle. This is not an abuse victim, guys. No abuse victim is going to get close to their abuser, man. She is practically approaching him and standing right there. That is a confrontational move. You guys got to really, really stop trying to delude yourselves. Anybody who still believes her, wake up. It is really not worth it to keep this delusion going. You're only going to be just so crushed when it all falls apart. Anyway, and it's going to. You keep telling us that we're going to be sorry. But no, you have to really look at it. No abuse victim is going to walk up to their abuser like that. Who does that? Have you ever seen an abuse victim walk up to their abuser at all and stand in front of them? Answer me in the comments section if you care to address this, because, my God, this is such a dead giveaway. I'm sorry. This is such vital information here to really, because we all have to try to figure this out, because we're not going to know any real details until they come out in the news. Okay, so this is a point where she steps closer to him as Johnny gets close. And Amber even leans in further to point at the wine bottle he had poured from as he was speaking. His statements about giving her crazy is interesting. This makes me believe she has made a habit of pushing his buttons and calling him crazy. Narcissists do this often. They wind you up and then calmly back away and watch you as you completely crumble to the ground. But here's he just basically says, here's your crazy, all your crazy. They, it's like they'll literally get you all worked up and calmly back away and pretend that you are crazy, often even verbalizing it to you. But what does Johnny do? He knows the deal now. So he says, here's your crazy, Amber. All you're crazy. All you're crazy. So it's not me. You're trying to deflect your crazy onto me. This is you're crazy. It's my peanut. You're crazy. No, sorry. I'm going to miss him as Captain Jack. Anyway. Okay, so notice also he is pouring... Okay, he is pouring what is left of a half a bottle of wine. But she asks, have you drunk this whole thing this morning? Leaning in and pointing at the now empty bottle. She has to show the audience that he has issues with drinking, but exaggerates it by making it like he drank the whole thing, even though half of it is still there. Notice he does not answer her. Way to go, Johnny. And she has to specify again this morning to convince people he drinks all hours. At this point, it's worth noting his tone of voice now, while addressing her, has dropped considerably. He is not even close to yelling or elevating his voice when he speaks directly to her. He notices the camera and says, "You got this thing going?" To which she replies, "I just started it." He says, "Oh, really?" She says, "Yes." He says, "Really?" before it ends. And then he said, I find it interesting that Johnny is speaking with an almost bemused tone. And it's true. It tells us that this isn't the first time Amber has attempted to tape him or set him up and everything like that. And he's caught her in an attempt. And he's caught her before. So, notice how she tries to cover it up. "No, I just started it." And then she pitches her voice to say yes. In this, yes, yes, yes. This very meek voice. Like, "Yes, please don't hit me." Be quiet. Also worth noting, she gets defensive but doesn't sound fearful. She gets defensive but doesn't sound fearful. She's not even a good enough actress to play herself in her own fake reality show. Anyway, she just... And a lot of people commented on that video and said, where was the fear? It just wasn't there. So I asked him to tell me what he thought about the camera situation, because I had a little discussion with somebody who was trying to correct me and saying it was not a camera buried in the wall, it was a phone. To be honest with you, I've read that it was a phone. I think maybe Amber's friends or Amber herself said it was a phone. But here is what my friend Brian had to say. As for the camera, it is leaning somewhat at an upward angle, which tells me it could be sitting on the table. But it's interesting that it may not be a phone. It is what seemed to be affixed to something, because when she adjusts it, it is such a smooth movement with no sound of rustling, scooting, or readjusting. And it locks in place the moment she stops adjusting it. If a phone were just leaning on something, that would be much harder to do without the phone sliding, dropping down, or at least making noise on the video. You know, I mean, you know, you got a webcam or some kind of thing, you know, or anything, you're going to hear noise, you're going to hear background, or anything. I don't know, you know, she probably would be not using a webcam like us average Joes, but still, it doesn't matter, you know? So, and his thought was remotes, like remote controls, are a possibility, but she clearly manually adjusted the angle of it a couple times when he had his back turns. Remotes can activate the start and stop of recording, but he said, and I tend to agree with him, that it could have been a small tripod or a kickstand for the phone. I mean, she could have had it on a table, or maybe she had it like hidden behind a bunch of stuff. And Johnny just pulled it away and then just, you know, just totaled it, trashed it. Because, and here is the method to our madness. Why not just use a phone? Here's why. One thing, you know, because of what he said about, you know, how, you know, it might be too obvious if she's moving it and stuff like that. And she has to angle the camera. Because, you know, she can't just walk around, oh, hi, Johnny, I got this phone. I'm texting my friend. Yeah, right, you know, I mean, because she probably tried that before, and he's like, are you recording me? You know, that kind of thing. So she had this little clever phone there, or camera, rather, not phone. Maybe, you know, and it was on a tripod. And then, what happened? You saw what he does. He's like, you got this going, and he kind of reaches for her hand.
Got this going.
And what, you know, because she's got this small little black remote, and you see it. You have to just click on the video. I will link it again and give you the numbers where, you know, it's number 100 or whatever. And you see the little black remote in her hand. So that said, he grapples with this camera. He does battle with the camera. And it's made to look like he's beating her up, but he's not. You don't see her hair. You don't see anything. You just see his head, you know, his upside down head, and you see his hands, and you see a bunch of shadows, and you hear a bunch of noise. It sounds like he's trying to yank something out of something else.
Got this going.
You know?
Oh, really?
And I think she did that on purpose so that it would look like at the very end, you know, like she would just leave it on. She's got this little cute little remote. She's going to hang back. Okay, Johnny, you know, you're going to be on tape until you can figure out how to get that camera out of there. And so the last thing you're going to see is him grappling with that motherfucking camera and pull that out. People, and Amber planned it so that people would see him doing that and think that he was beating her up. Don't you get it now? Don't you see how clever she's trying to be? But it's pretty stupid. I mean, she didn't scream. She wasn't screaming, Johnny, stop hitting me! You know, like she, I guess she must, you know, I think she was pretty thrown off balance by the fact that he's just not taking her bait at all. By that time, he was just not taking her bait at all. And so she's like, oh shit, I gotta think of something. Anyway, So yeah, she would have been screaming if he were actually hitting her. Come on. Of course she would have been making a lot of noise. So, yeah, I mean, her lawyers, if you remember back in 2016, talked about some damn video where, that she was going to be submitting as evidence, that he beat her. But this video is a big wash, because he didn't even touch her until the end when he's reaching for the remote, and then he goes and he totals the camera. Big whoopee-doo. Well, I mean, this just didn't go to court, because apparently it's unadmissible to take a tape of somebody without their permission. So she just didn't, she didn't get to present this as evidence. But then this has been out, and for some ungodly reason. I mean, a lot of people were using it during the time when Johnny made his Trump joke. Oh, look at this video where he's beating up his wife, That damn woman, what the hell's her name? Natasha, this wellness channel. And she's selling herself as a Trump supporter now. So then she turns on Johnny Depp when at first she was standing up for him. And she just completely did an about face, which of course is typical, for anybody who's such a, whatever. I mean, he apologized for the Trump joke, and what does one thing have to do with the other? Nothing. But it's just another reason to hate on a guy that was accused of domestic violence, even though he was innocent. Just pick anything at all that he does that's a little sloppy or a little dumb or a little, a little rude or a little something, and he would apologize. But no matter what, he's still seen as that guy who made a joke about Trump. It's been an ongoing smear campaign against Johnny Depp, and I, for one, am looking forward to seeing him vindicated. And I hope to God that Amber is seen for what she truly is, and people just are appalled. I mean, and, I'm sorry, guys. I know this is going to really hurt, but, the positive side is it's going to really, really pave the way to improve Me Too and to make it more about positive change and make it more about truth. It's not all about glorifying women. It's about giving survivors the platform to talk and allowing them the safe space to heal. But they have got to be listened to on both sides. They've got to be heard. You can't just sit there and say, oh, she's a woman, she's got to be telling the truth. Or he's a man, he's got to be lying. It's just no, I'm hoping this happens and he's vindicated. And until then, guys, we just have to keep soldiering on. Those of us who have been fighting, either standing up for Johnny Depp or, obviously our own personal journeys, which I'm always working with every day as well. So thank you again for indulging me, in this video, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you. Namaste.